Hello and welcome to Wee Crafty Crow. My name is Lisa and I'm a certified Zentangle teacher, and today I'm going to demonstrate to you how to draw this beautiful tangle which was deconstructed by Jody Genovese or Genovese. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce Jody's name, but Jody is a certified Zentangle teacher, and this tangle, What the Whale, is beautiful. It's actually inspired by another Zentangle HQ tangle, which is called Well. So I'm going to quickly demonstrate what Well looks like so that you can see the inspiration behind this tangle that Jody created. So in Well, you have a grid that you start with. Now this grid doesn't have to be squares, it could work in triangles as well, or hexagonal shapes. It's very flexible, but it's basically coming out of that orb into each corner, and then you repeat that in each of these individual corners. This is a bit rough and ready just to quickly demonstrate the inspiration for the tangle that I'm going to demonstrate today. Just smudge that a little bit, that doesn't matter. So this here is Well by Zentangle HQ. So today I'm going to demonstrate What the Whale, and I'm going to demonstrate it not actually on a white piece of paper. I'm going to demonstrate it on a tan tile. So this is 3.5 inches squared if you're wanting to work roughly on the same scale as I am, but it's going to end up looking roughly like this. I've actually got one that I did before in tan, so I'm going to show something very similar to this today, and then I can show you some other Zentangle tiles that I've done based on this pattern later on. I'm going to use a brown Micron 01 pen, just while I remember. So first step in this is to do the corner dots and join these dots. As you may know by now, do not be concerned about these lines of the border having to be perfectly straight. They don't have to be perfectly straight at all. I'm going to then split this square in the middle vertically. I'm trying to aim for as much in the centre of the tile as possible. That line might not be entirely, centred, but it's just roughly in the middle, as straight as I can manage, which is part of the mindfulness of the Zentangle. But don't worry if it's not perfectly straight. And then splitting the sections either side of that centre line, again, basically splitting those ones in half. Rotate the tile on its side 90 degrees, and then just repeating that. Now you can feel, if you feel better lifting your pencil off and getting your hand comfy again, you don't have to complete that line all in the one stroke. Just whatever's better for you. But don't hold your breath, because that can actually, you think it might make your lines neater, but it can actually make them look a little bit more wobbly. So we have the first step here of this tangle. That's basically a string that we're using. And we're going to put an orb into each of these. I'm just going to put them in every other square just now, and the reason for that will become apparent, but just in every other square. So then when we come in to do these squares, we're doing exactly what I taught you before, the take off and land, except we're not going to bring this line all the way out to the corner. We're going to stop before we get to the corner. So just repeating that. on each of these squares. Now I quite like doing this, like the one stroke at the same part of each of the squares. I like doing that because it's quite a mindful, relaxing, repetitive way to do things. You kind of get into a rhythm of what you're doing. And it's also easier for me from the point of view I don't have to keep spinning the tile all the time on screen. But if you want to complete the full square, all 4 legs, arms, whatever you want to call these bits coming out, and then move on to the next square, by all means do that. Whatever is more comfortable or easier for you. So take off and land, not coming quite out to the corner. And these lines, some of them might not be long enough or whatever, but you'll see we don't actually have to worry about that. It will all come together in the end. And I've been debating, to be honest, whether or not to put music on my channel. You know, when it comes to bits where I'm filling in ink, I wondered about putting in some music, and I might still experiment with that. But the thing with the music is, I know that there's some people who don't like music on YouTube channels as much, and my personal preference, I quite like the music, to be honest, but Zentangle is supposed to be about feeling zen and relaxed, and so I'll see how I get on without it. It kind of feels more like you're actually sitting tangling with me, I think, if there's no music on. If you have a preference one way or the other, you could let me know in the comments. That would be really helpful, and then I can see what people are thinking. So we've completed all of those squares that way. So now this is why I was putting, even although we're putting orbs in every square, we're going to now come off from the centre orb in the take off and land technique. We're going to do that in a different direction. So it's just easier once you have all of those strokes that are going off almost like a 9. Once you have them all down, you're not going to as easily get confused and do these strokes the wrong way. So these strokes, instead of coming out on the right of this orb, we're going to go out of the left hand side. And just do exactly the same thing, just kind of bringing it round almost to the corner. And what to point out just now is these lines, if you were to complete them, they would join up. So you're kind of almost imagining that these lines are complete, but they're not. And just doing that on each of these bits. And also these 2 lines here should be roughly the same length, as will become apparent the further along I get with this. And you can always, if you need to, you can always make your lines longer if you need to when you get further into the tangle. So then, just every time that you've completed those, just turning your tile on its side 90 degrees and repeating that process. See, I kind of had a wee bit of a blip there. That doesn't matter. It always reminds me, when I look at the tangle when it's at this stage, it reminds me of a wind farm. Like all the little propellers or blades, whatever you call them. Okay, so what we do now is turn the tile 90 degrees again, and you'll see perhaps shapes here where those curves are. It curves like up the way. It looks almost like an umbrella, like a mushroom. And at the bottom here of the stalk of the mushroom, we're going to join those lines together and then add a triangle either side. And just do that along this way. I mean, you can see there's one here. I think it's easier to just complete the ones that are in this direction first, and then we can come and do the ones that are on the other sides. That's my personal preference for the way to do it. And just take your time with this. There is absolutely no hurry. Okay, so now we're, like these ones are up at the side. We started with one in the centre before, but now we've got two either side. I really love tiles like this where you have to take a moment to see where the next shape is that you need to fill in. It's like solving a puzzle almost. Turn it on its side. And then when you're filling out these ones, you can see that these mirror the ones that we've already done before. And we need to try and mirror them as much as possible. Obviously, don't fret if yours are slightly different. It's still going to look beautiful once it's all complete. Turn on its side again, and then this is going to be the last side, and then all these bits will be filled out and we can move on to the next stage. Just like I say, just taking your time. There's no hurry. It's a good time to check in with how your body is feeling. Do you feel tense? Maybe try and ease off tension in your shoulders if you feel you have some. It's so easy for us to be tense without being aware of it. But just check in with how your body's feeling and relax it off. So now I've rotated that. Now we are going to fix the shapes so that we complete them in the corners and the sides. So how we do that is, you'll see that we put this first one where there was a stalk. So we're going to do half of a line that will join that stalk together. If we imagine that that line completed around here, that would have been another mushroom shape. And I'm going to do that down here as well, and down here. In this corner. You have to kind of take a moment to see you're not filling it out in the wrong place. So here we're going to put a little section, because that would have been a mushroom. And yes, there would be one there. And here. Because it's joining onto these bits here, would be mushrooms. We would have one here to complete that mushroom. I hope that this is making sense. But you know, you can just go back. You can pause this video at any time you want. You can slow it down. You can speed it up if you would like. There's no kind of guideline that you have to watch this at the exact speed that I taught it at in the first place. You know, just whatever is easy or preferable to you. That would have been a mushroom there, so I'm just fixing that here. I think we're almost there. This would have been a mushroom. And here as well. And here. Smudged it quite a bit, haven't I? But that doesn't matter. Okay, I think I've got all of the bits inked in. So now we can move on to the next stage. And for this stage, you can choose to use only black. I'm going to go to the 01, the brown 01. You could, if you had black and you had two thicknesses, you could use a thinner black at this point. It's just whatever your preference is, really. But I thought it was quite nice to do this aura stage in the brown pen. So just taking your time, going around the vertical bits here where we had the triangles under the stalks of the mushrooms. These are incomplete, but we would still have an aura here. Taking your time. There's no rush. Just enjoy this moment that you've given yourself. That bit where there was a smudge, it'll not be so visible once we've got all the rest of the line work in and once we start doing the shading and the highlighting. I'm not really concerned about it. And a couple of other vertical lines here before I turn the tile. I'm just doing the exact same thing in the other direction. Not in the other direction, but on the other, once you've rotated the tile. And you're trying to keep, that was obviously a bit too close to the triangles there, you're trying to keep these auras consistently distanced from the shape that you're auraing, but it doesn't matter if it messes up, but just, this is so lovely for being mindful, it's just so relaxing. There's one there that I missed. And here. Okay, I think I've got all of these lines auraed now. Oh, there's one here. And here as well. I might find at the next stage that I'm going to have even more lines that I've missed out, but we'll catch them as we go. So when we do this next stage, we're going to aura each of these original strokes, and when we do that, it's almost going to create like an aura around those mushroom shapes. We'll just repeat that on each of these arm shapes, whatever you call them. Spokes, I don't know. I'm trying to treat this as like, you know, auraing the individual spokes of this individual square, rather than, because you start to see where the other things should be, like, you know, that was incomplete without that aura because that needs to have a mirrored aura, and now this bit here has to have an aura there. But just if you break it down so that you've got your individual squares, I think that's much easier. You kind of feel like you know where you're going with everything. So there would be a line auraing here, and then another one there. So I hope you're starting to see, if you've never tried What the Well before, that it looks complex, but when you break it down into the individual steps, it's actually really straightforward, and it's not something that you have to fret about at all. You sometimes can be guilty, it's a different context from Zentangle, but you can be sometimes guilty of seeing something and talking yourself out of it without even trying. So I go to an art club on a Thursday night locally, and there's actually somebody there who does Zentangle, but most of the people who go, they're kind of into the oil painting type thing, and I see them how long it takes them to put down the base and build all of that up and get the right kind of colours on the base, and then to me I'm like, oh no, I couldn't do that. But who's to say I couldn't, you know? It's so easy to just talk yourself out of something. Try it at least. Because there are people who go to the art class and they say, Oh, I could never do that. I could never do what you do. But they could. If you have been tangling for a while, you'll know that the basic strokes in Zentangle are the letters I, C, S and O. So if you can create those shapes, then you definitely can tangle. It's often a mindset thing. We talk ourselves out of things. I'm trying, I think you maybe noticed, I'm trying not to spin the tile at this stage because I feel if I spin it, it might just be a bit more complicated about like trying to see where I'm putting the individual strokes. Just keep thinking of your individual squares and auraing those spokes. And you should keep yourself right. So onto the last row. And one more square. And from there, we move on to the shading. And this is where it really starts to get quite magic. So we take the pencil, and then everywhere that you see that stalk, it's now going to look like it's disappearing. The stalk is disappearing under that little line that we just auraed. I'm going to add the pencil and shade on each side so that I'm just doing into the stalks here, and then I'll turn the tile. I think it's more likely that I'll catch every bit that I'm supposed to do that way. But I'll probably miss some along the way, we'll just see. Smoothing that out. Okay, and then rotate the tile back to the pencil again. And not forgetting the corner sections. I think I forgot them initially when I was doing the last round. And I don't know about you, but I find this stage quite relaxing as well. It's like I've referred to a puzzle before. It's like I'm looking for bits in a puzzle, finding the right bits to shade. And then just, I keep saying this, but just take your time at this stage, because then you're more likely to not miss any pieces. It's no big deal if you do miss any bits, because you can always shade them later, but it's nice to just slow down for a while. Okay. This might be the last time that we're going around. And remembering, if you haven't already started putting your graphite down, remembering not to go down too heavily with that graphite, because the heavier that you put it down to begin with, you might end up finding it quite difficult to smooth those lines out. You can always add some more if you like it more, if you like it darker, but start light in the first place, I think. So this is the shading done, and you could leave that here by all means if you would like to, but this bit here, like this shape where it's all the overs and unders, I'm going to just add white in every bit here. I'm going to do the vertical ones and then I'm going to turn my tile. Oh, see, actually that's what I've done. I've not done anything, but I've missed another bit where we're going to add some shade to. So we'll do that first. Shade on the insides of those mushroom bits. Too keen to skip ahead, I don't know. Some shade there and there. Okay. It just blows my mind the difference that you can make in a tangle with just a simple pencil. It does not have to be an expensive pencil. It can be a standard pencil that a child would have in the school pencil case. Just an everyday pencil, and it just makes such a difference. It just brings everything to life. So looking for the tops of those mushrooms. That. I think it's just quite busy. I think that's what it is. And I personally really do enjoy this tangle because it's just about the stopping, taking a moment. Where am I shading next? Where do I need to put this pencil line down? I like a bit of a challenge for my brain. I'd be interested to know whether or not you enjoy this tangle just as much. Some people say they don't like grid tangles or they only like grid tangles, and obviously different people have different preferences. To be honest, I wouldn't say that I'm a grid tangler or tangler of organic things. I like everything. So yeah, some challenging, some not. And add some more pencil line here. Just any place that we've got those mushrooms. And I believe that's all the shading done now. Yes. So back to when I jumped ahead too early. What I like about that is that that's real. You know, Zentangle teachers can kind of forget stages and things as well, but it wasn't actually a mistake as such. It was just I hadn't done that step. So add that step in, and then you can see where I'm adding the white to, just in the insides, like, so that I'm not going right to the edges, because that's where we've got the ink and the graphite. So we're trying not to, you know, go too near that, because otherwise it defeats the purpose of putting the graphite in if we brighten it up too much. And then go into the sides here. Bit that I didn't smooth out. We're getting there with this, we're nearly finished. So taking my white tortillon blending stump and just smoothing that pastel pencil into the paper. It's quite a subtle, just going to add a bit more in this one. It's quite a subtle effect, maybe on this particular tile and tangle. I really like it. I really, really do. And just to point out, you could, I'm going to add some pastel pencil into each of those shapes that are the same shape. But you could choose potentially to just shade the ones that you know, highlight the ones that I just did and stop it at that stage. It is your tile. You can do whatever you like. So onto the home stretch now, so to speak. Pastel pencil in here. Oh, there's another bit that I didn't shade. Well, I did, but I didn't smooth it out. And nearly there. So that is What the Well by Jody, Genovese. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous tangle. I really like this one. So I'm going to just show you some of the previous tiles that I did using What the Well. So I think I showed you this one at the start of the video. It's obviously very, very similar to this one. It's just the tangle has been created on a slightly different colour of paper. Both tan but different tones. This one I think I showed at the start as well. So this is how, I mean, you could do this at home if you didn't have the tan paper and you don't have to go to the highlighting stage. You just stick with the graphite and the ink. That can look very nice. Then I've got, I had another one, oh here it is here. Another one where it's quite a subtle embellishment. But in the stalks of each of these, I've got these dashes and then a couple of dots. Just a slight embellishment. So you could do something like that. You could put in, I don't know, Prantom as a texture. You could put like anything that you want in here, and I think it would look lovely. I am a fan of the colour purple. So when I did this one, I've coloured in the orbs with the purple, and I've done, where I did the brown auras today, I did them in purple in this one. And then the last one I did is a map tangling way of doing things, and I think that that looked really effective as well. So please let me know if you have tangled this after following along with me. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'm going to hopefully see you again for another of my videos. Please do like or subscribe. Anything that would help my channel is very, very much appreciated. So thank you very much, and I'll hopefully see you in another of my videos soon. Bye.